We
And
all are melanated kings and queens.
Yes, yes. So let's just get on a unified front, okay, guys? Hey friends, welcome back to the CNT Review.
This is where we review anything from food to fashion and everything in between.
Since you saw the title and clicked on the video, you already know what we're about to get into. But before we get into what we're going to do today, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a video, which is weekly. So
yes,
keep up with
very,
us.
Very easy to remember.
Right. It's an easy thing.
So today we are going to wrap up our Women's History Month celebration. If you've been keeping up with us, you know that throughout the month of March we have been doing all films actually
right.
surrounding with very diverse casts celebrating women essentially. Last week we discussed in our Ocean's 8 video, which if you haven't seen, you should go see that. Last week in our Ocean's 8 video we discussed the meaning of true diversity. Chloe had said that true diversity to her is not just a diverse cast, but also the behind the scenes people. So that includes directors, producers, cinematographers, videographers, photographers, the set design, the clothing design, all people behind the scenes are also needs to be diverse. Mm-hmm. So we've decided this week to wrap up our Women's History Month to kind of run with that a little bit. So the film that we are going to be discussing today is a film that is not only a woman-directed film, but is a Black woman-directed film. So give it up for Black women. So what is that film, you say? It is called One Night in Miami. Yes, it was directed by Regina King, and Regina King was actually nominated as Best Director for this film in the Golden Globes this past season. So shout out to her, because Regina King is a queen.
She's a queen, for real.
So One Night in Miami stars actually Kinsley Ben-Adir as Malcolm X, Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke, Eli Gorey as Cassius Clay, and Aldous Hodge as Jim Brown. And it basically tells the fictional account of what happened one night in Miami.
Yes. So before we get deep into the film, let me ask you this question. If you could spend one night in Miami with Cassius Clay, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, or Jim Brown, who would you spend it with?
Oh my gosh. That was such a hard question. I think there's a lot of questions that I would definitely want to ask Malcolm X. Just, I think he's the one known out of the four that is really that was really fighting hard, I guess, for, Black people during that time in the film. So there's a lot of questions I would want to ask about that, especially since I'm not a militant person. I'm more of like a Martin's philosophy. I think peace is the way to go. So I feel like I want to say Malcolm X, but I do think my answer, I think I'm going to end up with Sam Cooke. I don't know. Something about the musicians. I wouldn't mind spending a week in Miami with Sam Cooke. And maybe the movie did influence me in that direction, because I think if you asked me that question before I saw the movie, I might have just said Malcolm X straight off the gate. Okay. But the movie definitely, I don't know, maybe it was just the way Leslie Odom Jr. played him. But I just feel like I would love, because I think that's more my speed, which actually kind of goes into our next segment, which we'll talk about a little later. I like how he is, fighting for the rights of Black people, and I really connect with the way he's doing it. I think I'm going to go with Sam Cooke. How about you?
I would say Sam Cooke.
Really? Okay.
And but from
you're a musician.
Yeah, mine seems obvious. If you know me, it's obvious that I'm going to go with the singer and musician.
The musician.
So I would obviously want to spend a night with Sam Cooke. Yeah. To, I guess, talk about how he used his gift to make a change, and also just on a general just to ask him about the whole owning your masters thing and having a record label and trying to get other people's work out there. Sorry, spoiler alert, if you didn't know that. You should definitely research all 4 of these people. Just because they're great. But I would love to just sit down with him just on a music level. I would love to sit there and do a couple duets with him. That would be so great.
That would be a dope duet. Chloe and Sam. Sam and Chloe. Like,
yes. I love that. That'd be so cool. So yeah, Sam Cooke for sure.
Okay. So I mean, we both chose Sam, which is actually the perfect segue because in the movie One Night in Miami, if you guys didn't know, you know, like I said earlier, it does recount this one night between these 4 friends. Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali had just become basically champion and they were out celebrating. But that celebration kind of led to a full conversation about essentially Black rights and what Black people are doing to fight for their rights at that time. And it kind of led to this sort of argument between Malcolm X and Sam Cooke. It was funny because Cassius Clay and Jim Brown were kind of like playing mediators the whole time. We're trying to like be like, oh no, we're friends sort of situation. But it definitely led to some interesting topics. And this movie is so quotable, right? So today we're just going to focus on one of the quotes actually that was said by Sam Cooke. He actually said it to Malcolm. Malcolm was basically claiming that maybe he wasn't doing enough. So Sam said, "We can all just go out and claim the white man the devil." And I just really wanted to talk about that because I think that really goes into the overarching theme, I think, of the movie was that there is not one way to fight for the cause or the rights of Black people, right? That was their basis of their argument, is that, you know, Malcolm was saying that Sam wasn't doing enough, and Sam, like Chloe was saying earlier, he kind of went into this explanation of masters and owning the rights to songs and basically saying that he's doing it his way. And that they were just butting heads in that moment. And I really connected with that quote because I think it does relate to today. Essentially, like, you know, we are unfortunately still fighting for the rights of Black people every day, trying to prove to people that we are human beings and that we deserve the rights just how any other race does. And but what I've discovered recently, especially like, you know, within the past year, that there's not just one way to fight, and that I'm noticing that I think that is something that we as Black people, I feel like sometimes we struggle with. With the death of George Floyd, like there was a lot of protests, right? And people sometimes, I heard people say like, if you're silent or if you're not doing it that way sort of thing, then are you really for the cause sort of thing? And I just want to like counteract that and say we are, and you can be. Silence doesn't always mean inactivity. It could mean that, one, you want to learn first, you want to educate first, and then you want to act. Sometimes you don't have to act right away. You can actually, let me be silent, let me listen, let me learn, let me figure out my next move, and then let me move forward and figure out how I can use my gifts that God has given me to fight for people. And I think that that's important. We're all been given different gifts and talents and abilities and just that God has blessed us with. And I think that we each can use them in different ways. I'm not a protest person, personally myself. So I wasn't a person that was going to go out and protest, but I don't have to be. I can fight for the cause in different ways by being in the community. Or I'm a huge believer in discipleship of young people, discipling young Black late women, like, you know what I mean? And I think that also contributes to the cause. And I think that, and I really appreciate what Sam said, like, we can't all do what you did, Malcolm. Like, you want to get up there and claim the white man the devil, fine. For me, that my gift is music, so let me use music to fight for the cause this way. And I think I think he was just trying to counteract Malcolm's, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Malcolm was kind of coming for him, and he was just like, we're not, like, there's not one way to do this.
Right, and he was defending himself because Malcolm was kind of making it seem like, you know, you have, and he even said, like, you have one of the most beautiful creative outlets between all of us and can reach so many people, and you're not doing anything. But Sam was like, first of all, I have a record label. I have the masters to my music. And it's like, I'm helping by building other artists up, giving other artists a voice so they don't have to run to, and I know this is,
Yeah.
period talk, but the
Yeah.
white man to get my dreams, made, kind of thing. So he's like, you don't know what I'm doing. You don't know about all these people who I'm writing for. One, I'm getting paid.
Yes.
I'm producing
Yes.
these people. I'm getting paid, and we're influencing Black people to grow. So I think, like you said, it's many sides of this coin.
Many sides. Yes.
And
there's not one way to be Black. I think
it's not, and I think that's so true for right now, because not only are we protesting, which is good, people have to do that, like you said, we gotta operate in our gifting, but I think we just gotta stop pointing our fingers at each other and be like, you gotta do it this way. And it really was evidenced by that, because Malcolm was kind of not put in his place, but he had some perspective, and he was like, you gotta. But also, Sam did feel encouraged to go on, right? A change is gonna come.
Yes.
So he realized, what I'm doing is great. Yeah. But maybe I can take it up a notch. You know what I mean? Maybe I can do. And it's one of his biggest songs ever, and we're still singing it. People are still covering it. People are like, it's so prevalent right now. We're still singing A Change Is Gonna Come in 2021. Okay, so let's marinate on that. Let's get it together, people.
Let's marinate on that. But
we need to get it together in this country.
I like what you said, Chloe. Like, they encourage one another. So like, Sam gave Malcolm a different perspective, but Malcolm also encouraged Sam to like maybe take it up a notch. And I think that those both are important. Like, aspects, but it also takes understanding and conversations, and not just pointing a finger like, you're not doing enough, you're not doing this, and you're not doing that. It's like, well, you don't know what I'm doing,
right?
Like,
it should be like, can I understand what are you doing? Can I understand what you're doing?
Instead
and how
of being
can I
like,
help
you're
you?
not exactly. Instead of being like, you're not doing something, well, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? I'm doing this, but I would love to hear what you're doing to, like, help the cause and help the rights of Black people and stuff like that. And I think that is just so. I don't know. I just think that that's really good. And I think also Jim helped Malcolm, like, kind of see the perspective, because after that big blowout and they left, Jim Brown sat down with Malcolm and was just like, we talk about real freedom, economic freedom is being economic free.
It's being free.
And Sam is more economic free than anybody, because he's making his own money, sort of thing.
And no matter what white people or Black people say about him, he's making his own money.
He's making his own
money.
Money
To anybody to get paid. Okay?
Exactly. He doesn't have. He's the one kind of signing the checks. He's not having somebody sign his checks. So I think that Jim really helped him see perspective in that regard, which I thought was like really great. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Chloe. I like that. Instead of just being like, what, like, you're not doing this, ask the question, what are you doing?
Right. And how can I help you? And that's the thing.
How can I help you? How can I help you? How can I encourage your gift?
Right. That's the thing. Come on, stir up the gift. That's Bible.
Stir up the gift. Shake it down.
One thing. Come on. I think one other thing about how it's relating to right now is we're obviously still dealing with it. And I know that when the Black Lives Matter protests came out, and it was beautiful because it's all across the world. There were like other organizations doing things and other organizations doing things, but I feel like nobody was like connected. And I heard a lot of people actually say, when it was in the 60s with Dr. Martin Luther King and all that stuff, the NAACP, they were like the front, and then everybody was working together with them. Now we have a bunch of little organizations doing their own thing, and we're pointing our fingers at each other like, no, that's not the right way.
That's not the right way.
And it's like, we really, if we went, and we shouldn't have to, but you know what? The reality is we have to. If we're going to if we're going to fight for people to see us and it's equal, we got to be equally fighting together. We got to be unified. We have to be.
We have got to stop pointing fingers at each other.
And it's like Jim Brown, he wasn't joking. I think he was challenging him on how he's saying something. He was talking to Malcolm X about, basically that's light-skinned behavior. But he was talking about something very specific. But something that made me think about that is how all the colorism that other people are using against us other people, but we are guilty of it too, and we really got to get it together. I think we're better now because we're loving like, oh, the brown people, the dark skin, yes, we're giving them love, but we're still not realizing that, you know, we're just African Americans. Like, we're all different shade. You're not more or less because you're light skinned or less melanin. You got a whole lot of melanin. You're black, okay? And
we all are melanated kings and queens.
Yes, yeah. So let's just get on a unified front, okay, guys? Okay, unity, my brothers and sisters. Yes, let's get it together.
Unity is key. To sum it up, unity is key.
Yes, that's the whole thing. Unity is key. Period. We should put that on T-shirts.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna do that.
Yes. So let us know, like, how did you feel about this movie? I know we didn't get like deep into the plot of the movie, but you should go watch that, John. We're not gonna recount the entire film. Yes. Let us know how you feel. Let us know also, like, who would you want to spend one night in Miami with? You know, have you would pick their brains, or I don't know. Let us know. Also, let us know, like, what was your favorite quote from the film? What stood out to you? Like, what really touched your heart? We would love to hear from you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in today and for our Women's History Month celebration. We really had a great time rewatching these movies and digging deep into them. Next week we're gonna, we were getting pretty deep in these movies, so we're just gonna have a little fun.
Yeah, let's lighten up a little bit. Loosen up.
We're gonna lighten up a little bit, we're gonna lighten the mood, and we're gonna play a game. So we'll see you then. This has been another CET review. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out our other videos. We'll see you next time. Bye!